Hey guys, Bitcoin Owen here. Well, I think the new year 2026 is 16 days old today and it's gotten off to a bang. Basically, we've got Trump making major moves in Iran, Greenland, and Venezuela. I'd like to talk about Iran today, basically, and the Iranians are out on the streets protesting because the currency has collapsed. It was at 25 or 30,000 real to the dollar 2 years ago, and today it's at 1.4 million reals to the dollar. So that means that it takes 1.4 million Iranian reals to buy $1, just $1. Imagine if you wanted to buy a cup of tea in Iran today, and all the reals that you would need to bring with you to the cafe, or a cup of coffee. So the Iranians are protesting, and this is an ideal opportunity for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin does not crash like the real has crashed. Bitcoin is actually deflationary instead of inflationary. Bitcoin is slightly deflationary. And Bitcoin is decentralized. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And this is an ideal opportunity now for Mr. Khomeini, the leader of Iran, to seize the opportunity basically and introduce Bitcoin in his country, Iran. It would definitely improve things dramatically. And I'm just waiting for the first leader to appear basically and declare that Bitcoin is the currency we are going to use from now on. I think things aren't bad enough in Russia yet. Things aren't bad enough in China yet for them to turn towards Bitcoin. But things definitely are bad enough in Iran. They've killed hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the past few weeks in Iran since the real collapsed on international foreign exchange markets. And it would really revolutionize Iran if they were to make Bitcoin legal tender and to start be allowed to pay for government services, pay your tax in Bitcoin, pay for your food, clothes, mortgage, everything in Bitcoin. It would definitely revolutionize Iran, and it would make their bonds be in demand too. I reckon it would change the bond market would not be against Iran, and they would be able to issue bonds denominated in Bitcoin eventually, not immediately, but eventually they would. I reckon they would be able to borrow, and they would be able to pay for their oil industry. I mean, how are they going to keep their oil technology and infrastructure updated? Basically, how are they going to modernize and keep their infrastructure, their oil infrastructure, up to date if the real is as worthless as it has become? So I mean, they couldn't. They were probably defending their currency on international markets for a long time by buying reals, basically. I suppose, which wouldn't really achieve much. They would have been in the derivatives market. I doubt there's much of a derivatives market in Iranian reals, to be honest. There's not much you can do when you're in currency markets, when all of the big international Western banks turn against you, basically. But that's Iran anyway. Moving on to one other thing I'd like to talk about today, and that is the difficulty adjustment in Bitcoin. I'd just like to say a few words about it and explain what it does. This was the real invention that Satoshi invented. The real innovation from Satoshi Nakamoto was the difficulty adjustment. Everything else, all of the other parts of Bitcoin had been already created and were in existence and were publicly available on the open source networks of the world. They were all free. The SHA-256, we'll say the you've got the blockchain, blocks, transactions, cryptography had been around. That was all there. The Lipsec P256K1 was there. All that was there. Everything was there. But he put them all together, and then he invented the difficulty adjustment. And the difficulty adjustment basically is there to make sure that that Bitcoin keeps running smoothly, basically, and that the blocks are happening every 10 minutes. Because without the difficulty adjustment, there would be a serious amount of disorder, basically, in terms of the block creation process. Blocks of transactions, basically, a miner puts together a block of transactions, and they try to win the lottery. There's a lottery basically that they have to try and win, and once they win that, then the miner can create the blocks, and they hoover up all the transactions that are waiting in the mempool and put them into the into a block. Usually 2 or 3 thousand transactions goes into a block, and the block has a maximum size of 4 megabytes or 1 mega vbyte. They did increase the block size in the block size wars from 1 megabyte to 4 megabytes, but it went under the radar for a lot of people because they kind of pulled the winkers on them, basically pulled the hood over their eyes. That's how I feel about it anyway, in terms of the block size wars. Some wanted to keep it at 1 megabyte, more wanted to increase it to 1 gigabyte, and they compromised with by increasing it to 4 megabytes. But anyway, the difficulty adjustment basically increases if the blocks are coming in if the average block time is less than 10 minutes. The difficulty adjustment increases. The difficulty adjustment decreases then and in the case that the block sizes are coming in at more than 10 minutes on average. So that's the difficulty adjustment, guys, and that's Iran. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, guys, if you'd like to hear more podcasts like this daily.